On April 20th, 2010, the Deepwater Horizon disaster changed the lives of millions living near the Gulf of Mexico, as well as the scientists who responded to the crisis. These are some of their stories, intimate portraits of research, innovation, discovery. Welcome, I'm Jim McNamee, editor of Dispatches from the Gulf, a series of documentaries, short videos, and podcasts. Today we will spend a few minutes with Dr. Nancy Rabalais, a coastal ecosystem scientist and past recipient of the MacArthur Foundation's Genius Award. Dr. Rabalais and her team of scientists are studying the impact of the oil spill on one of the Gulf's most important fisheries, blue crabs.
We're in Terrebonne Bay, next to a Spartina marsh. It's the common marsh that we have. It's a very important part in their life history because this is when they make it or don't make it. Our studies are looking at the recruitment of larval crabs back into the marsh after they've traveled from offshore to inshore, then use the marsh to grow up to be larger blue crabs, which are an important part of our commercial fishery economy. We went to two areas. One had been oiled and one had not been oiled. And we could see the difference between the shoreline of one that looked fairly healthy and one that had some cuts into the shoreline. It was rather ragged and looked like it had been eroded. And another finding is that the crabs are not recruiting to the oiled marshes as well as they are recruiting to the unoiled marshes.
Dr. Rabalais is also quick to point out that, in addition to the oil spill, there are other factors that could have affected the health of the marshes.
You know, the Louisiana Wetlands are under constant attack from lots of things: sea level rise, land loss, diversions, changes in water level, changes in hydrology. And there is a background level of oil in the Louisiana marshes because we are an oil and gas state. I think one of the important things to understand in coastal Louisiana is that the oil industry and the commercial fisheries industry work hand in hand. And they both know that the other is important. Some people work in the oil field. When they're not, they're hunting and fishing and crabbing or trawling. And many people who hunt and trawl very often will work in the oil field to make money because just living off of the land is not sufficient. So we've known for a long time that we've got to work both parts of that into our social structure and into our economy so that neither side is harmed by the activities of the other.
In the end, Dr. Rabalais hopes we can learn from the mistakes of the Deepwater Horizon spill and earlier oil spills.
I saw the Ishtok oil come on the beaches in Port Aransas in 1979. And now here I am in Louisiana in the northern Gulf watching a lot of oil come on shore, and it's always disappointing to see that. So I hope we can work better into the future to keep more of this from happening. The oil spill is not over. Effects are still being seen, and some effects might not be seen until well into the future when you start looking at some of the larger animals like the offshore tuna and whales and things like that. We need to prevent rather than try to clean up. That's something very important, which we do all the time. I think we now know to be a little more vigilant than we might have been when this incident occurred, and hopefully we've learned from that as well.
Today, thousands of scientists, oceanographers, chemists, engineers, biologists are all working together to develop newer and better ways to understand and ease the impact of oil spills. To learn more about their work, visit our webpage at dispatchesfromthegulf.com. Funding for this podcast was provided by a grant by the Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative. And thanks for listening.